Dong City. This is Vince Mercandetti. We are here and back, and no more baseball brackets. But now that A League of Their Own has been decided as the best movie ever, we bring you the Western Division previews. So, like I said, I'm Vince Mercandetti. Henry, Rob, we have special guests, as you can see over there. Manny Hernandez joining us to talk a little AL West baseball tonight. How are you guys doing?
Doing good, Manny. Manny is Ticket Daddy over here. How you doing, Ticket Daddy?
I'm good. Just waiting for opening day. Getting excited.
Ticket Daddy Hernandez. Now you are the closest of all of us to the West Coast, and if I'm not mistaken, you went to the World Series last year, right?
I went to the National League. That just happened to fall on my lap. Planned a trip to Arlington, Dallas, and tickets went on sale, so I got them and got to go see the last 4 NL championship games.
That's a hell of a fall in your lap.
So the Braves are not a big fan of your work then.
Oh no, that was one of the things. I even bought a shirt for a friend who's a Braves fan at the beginning. And
3-1.
I was like, okay, maybe I just give it to somebody else.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, that is the reason we have you on this show. Is you took down the Braves, made me look better. My playoff predictions could have gotten off the rails last year when hating on the Astros and Braves all season, but it ended up working out. So thank you for that. Manny, for those of you who don't know, is obviously an Oakland Athletics fan. We might have some Dodgers representation later, Henry.
We're still working on it, but possibly.
All right, cool. Well, everyone joining, so you know, this is the beginning of our preview shows. We're going to do both Western divisions tonight. Next week will be the Central. Week after that will be the East. And then the night before opening day, we're going to have a special Dong City on a Wednesday. And that's going to be discussing the awards and our actual playoff World Series predictions, everything like that. But Manny, before the end of the night, we're going to get your World Series prediction. But first, let's get down to business. We're going to start in the AL West tonight. Manny's sweet spot, and we're going to start from the shittiest 2020 team up. So it's going to be a little bit before we get to talk about Oakland. But we're going to start with the Texas Rangers. I'll give you guys the tale of the tape for all of these teams, and then we can get into it. So Texas last year finished dead last. That's why we're starting with them 22-38 in the 60-game season. Negative run differential, 88. Bad farm system. And on top of that, they lost some of their starting pitching. Now, Texas, if you want to go back a little bit, because I don't know how much stock you want to put into the sample size that was 2020. In 2019, they were not much better. I'm still waiting to pull up those stats, but I'll get that for you in a second. So let's get into it here. Henry, we can start with you. What are your thoughts here on the Texas Rangers? 78 and 84, that's what they were in 2019. So
I don't like them. I never liked them. I mean, they always put together a team of guys that can hit, guys that can, they can hit the long ball. They just can't pitch, and they'll score, 5-6 runs a game on average and give up 7-8. And I don't see any changes there. You look up and down their roster, and nothing really jumps out at you. That rotation of Kyle Gibson, Koji O'Hara, Mike Flownwise, that doesn't impress me. Dane Dunning, I mean, okay, Dane Dunning should be impressive, but he's going to be on an innings limit. So I don't see a lot to be hyped about here with this group of players and this team. I just don't like them.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Manny, this is a division obviously you're invested in. I mean, is Texas a threat at all to Oakland, or what are your thoughts on them?
Well, in general, I think with the AL West, it doesn't matter who's what or got what. They're always formidable opponents during the season, it seems like. But the Rangers, no, to me, they're the weakest threat in the entire division. They lost Lance Lynn. That was probably their best pitcher, in my opinion. And Dane Dunning, I don't know. We don't know what he's going to do still. So, the only thing is Chris Davis is struggling too. So that's not going to pan out for them unless he has this turnaround. That's the only thing I can think of as far as like any standouts on that team.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point. To bring the Texas picture to fruition as far as the rotation, they lost Lynn and Mike Minor. They gained Fultonavich, who, by all accounts, is a reclamation project. I mean, I still think he's got some upside based on his arm, but I don't know if he doesn't get his velocity back, that's not going to happen. Made the trade for Dane Dunning. I'm a pretty big Dunning believer. I like what he has to offer, but this is also 2021. We're coming off a shortened season. Fact of the matter for me, and you guys touched on it, in Texas, Kyle Gibson too. There's not enough arms in this rotation. There's not enough upside arms in this rotation. And like Henry said, there's not enough talent on this roster. So it's bad shape. There's nothing that jumps out. Like you said, Henry, the rotation is a lot of risk, not a lot of reward. Like maybe Dunning can have a breakout year, but even so, he's still 26. I mean, he's turning 27. So I mean, he is right around that age, but he doesn't have a lot of major league experience, not that built up.
Is he that old, really?
Yeah, 94.
Wow.
Yeah, surprised me too. I had to do the math. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm turning 34. He's 7 years younger than me. That's horrible. They got Nate Lau also in that move. He's having a rough spring, so that was a guy that they want to put in the middle of that lineup, and he may not even get the starting job over Guzman. And then, of course, the rest of that team. Like you said, Manny, Chris Davis, his upside's a 247 hitter with 40 home run power. Maybe in Texas it's better because it's a smaller ballpark, but that's a rough spot. I mean, Chris Davis is turning 34. He's my age. Or I guess he'll be 33 all season, but that's like, and David Dahl is their other outfielder, with Joey Gallo. So to me, it's not a lot of upside. You got, like Henry said, it's a one-dimensional offense. And then on top of that, I think Gallo and Dahl and Davis could all be candidates to be traded when this team goes off the track. So yeah. I'm with you, Manny. This is the least of your problems
You also don't know what version of Jesus, I just lost it. Joey Gallo you're getting.
Yeah.
You're getting the 19 Joey Gallo, which made all these strides and was a patient hitter and struck out a lot less and was spraying the ball. And then you had last year's, Joey Gallo, which reverted back to the guy we knew before. So, will the real Joey Gallo please stand up?
I think it might be fun to watch the Japanese pitcher. They got Arihara, just to see what he does. And also, you remind me of a point regarding hitting. That field, so it just opened last year, and I went there for the championship games. When they opened up the roof, it's different. It's like a big vacuum. I've never been to a stadium that's open roof like that. And it's very enclosed, all the seats, the stadium itself around it. And I noticed there was a difference in the hitting once they opened the roof last year in Game 4, I believe, of the NL Championship Series. So I think that's kind of something to look at too. I just felt like the hitters couldn't hit as well, something about the air or something like that. But I could be wrong, but it was just weird. And it's also Texas. The weather changes every 20 minutes.
Yeah, no, the earlier reports are that this could be a pitcher's park, which is a different change of pace from Texas, what we're used to with Texas ballpark. So we'll have to see. It could be quirky, but definitely, it's a new ballpark worth pointing out. So that's Texas. I think we're all pretty unanimous that they're probably going to come in last yet again. And that's pretty much all there is to say about them. So,
which is saying a lot when you're in the same division as the M's.
Yeah, right. And before we get to the M's, let's get to everyone's favorite wild card sleeper every single year, regardless. That is your LA Angels. A lot of Angel fans in this group. And by the way, welcome to Renee and Melvin and Jacob and Eddie. Speaking of Angels fans, Ricky, Leon, nice of you guys to join us.
I like the little dig at Leon there. I like it.
Well, it's not just last year. This year again, that hype train earlier today in baseball life, we're starting again with Angels could make the playoffs. They just need enough arms. Here's my thing. Hot take of the night. If your excuse is you just need enough arms, you're not a very good team. Like that has to be the bare minimum to be a playoff contender is you have to actually have the arms. hoping for arms to pan out is like the toughest thing to do in Major League Baseball.
This is the same story every year, though. Isn't this what we say about them every year for like the last 5 years?
And every year, you and I are right, Henry. They don't make the playoffs. They finish, they aren't a 500 team. Last year, 26-34. Some people had them as wild card contenders. Negative 27 run differential, which is not that bad given, but they had a winning record at home for what it's worth, 7-13 against teams on over 500. Dylan Bundy named the opening day starter. That's all you have to know there.
Yeah.
He's better on the Angels, but still not that good. And then you've got Haney, Quintana, Canning, Cobb, and we hope Shohei Ohtani is going to stick at pitcher. He's never made more than like half a season starts. So this rotation, even if it pans out completely, is still thin and still lacks upside, just like Texas. Well, again, we'll go to you, Manny. What are your thoughts on the Angels?
Well, you hit the nail on the head in describing basically the last 10 years of the Angels, it feels like. But I feel like they didn't go after pitchers this year. Like, I think their biggest problem in the past have been injuries with pitchers, and they're just bad luck. So this year, I think they didn't go after a lot of pitching in the offseason. They got some pickups, and Alex Claudio, the young guy, the reliever, he's got a hip issue. So I don't think that anything is going to change really, but I think they're actually just buying into, like, we're not going to go after pitchers. We're going to work with what we have and rely on our hitters as usual.
Yeah, which might be sound, except their hitting wasn't bad, but it's also like, you have Mike Trout obviously there. And by the way, Mike Trout turning 30 this year. I wouldn't say it's time to push the panic button yet, but that window for Mike Trout, especially given the wear and tear on his body, he's been in the majors full time since he's 21, is starting to come. Like, I don't know how many years of Mike Trout elite center fielder you have left. He's going to be a corner outfielder sooner rather than later. I would say
3 to 5,
maybe 2 more years before he's no longer the undisputed best player in baseball.
I guess, man.
And that's your best. It's you got Ohtani, the hitter, Fowler, Upton, Iglesias. I mean, they lost Simba, who I thought was a pretty useful hitter, not a great hitter, but a useful one. Jared Walsh might be a solution at first. I mean, it's not a lineup that you're going to say, man, they're going to mash their way into the playoffs. This is a lineup that you'll say it's a good enough offense. If you had the pitching, they don't have the pitching.
Right.
And Quintana is not going to change that. Ohtani in the rotation is not going to change that. And Alex Cobb's not going to change that. But maybe they're a little bit better than last year. That's kind of my take. Anyone disagree with that?
I don't disagree. I mean, I'm drawing a blank as to their price center fielder. Jesus Christ. Why am I drawing? No, the prize, the young kid. Jesus Christ. Joe Adele. I am surprised they went out and they traded for Fowler, and then they signed Juan Lagares, winter baseball hero this year, who had a hell of a Caribbean World Series. And that just leaves Joe Adele to basically start the season in the minor leagues and prove he can actually hit Major League Baseball. That gives him 4 outfielders. 3 of them I don't like. You have 3 of them in Mike Trout. I don't like it. They did lose Simba, like you said, but they did replace him with Jose Iglesias, who is not quite Simba defensively, but he's not that far off of him, and he can definitely hit better. So I kind of like Jose Iglesias at shortstop for them. They have arguably the best third baseman in baseball with Anthony Rendon. That offense is going to do what the offense has done. I'm not in love with their rotation again. You have what I consider a bunch of number 3s in that rotation. You have a rotation full of 3s and 4s. And the question mark of Ohtani. How far can you ride that? I do like their bullpen. I don't like their bullpen, knowing that bullpen is going to have to fill in the gap for a lot of innings. Because with those kind of pitchers, you aren't going to have guys that are going to go out there and pitch 7, 8, 9 innings. You're not. You're going to have to rely on that bullpen heavily. And I don't see that bullpen holding up the distance. I do like their bullpen, but I don't like the bullpen over the course of an entire season because they're going to have a lot of innings on those arms.
Yeah, bullpen's got some nice intrigue to it. I'm I'm with you. Obviously, I like Rendon, but he is also this isn't a young guy they're building a franchise around. Rendon was brought in to make an impact immediately, and he did. But
Yeah, Rendon's not their problem. He's not their
yeah.
problem. He's part of the solution.
Now, here's the silver lining if you're an Angels fan. This is not your year. Last year was not your year. I've been saying for 3.5 years now, Ohtani should be one or the other. He's not going to be great on both ends, pitching and hitting. They really ought to do him justice and either make him a pitcher, make him a hitter. I would personally go hitter because pitchers are more prone to injuries, as we've seen from Ohtani already. But that's neither here nor there. Pujols' contract up at the end of this year. CJ Wilson eventually.
No. I think Pujols has another year on his contract. I think his wife prematurely jumped the gun and said he was retiring.
Oh, so okay.
I do think they're on the hook for one more season of Pujols. I might be wrong.
Financial flexibility is getting there for the Angels. Put it that way. Between Upton, Wilson, and Pujols, there's not that much longer. But Joe Adell to me is the big key here because the Angels need to start. It looks like he's a free agent, by the way, after this season, regardless. Okay. The Angels need to start producing farm talent. I mean, and that's really what it comes down to. They haven't produced. They got Griffin Canning, can't stay healthy. They haven't produced anyone in the middle of that lineup since Trout, really. And unfortunately, they've had a lot of injury problems. So they need to start producing out of that bullpen. Adell needs to be cheap talent that can contribute. I'm not giving up on him after a rough however many games. We've seen plenty of guys who struggle, Trout included, and then come up and just take off. So not giving up on Adell, but this is a team that is not ready to compete. You're fooling yourselves if you think they have the pitching to overcompensate for anything, because they don't. It is a team that even in this division, even though there's, no one who's a sure thing, so to speak, they're still not going to make it in a non-expanded playoff. And that's a testament to how bad the Angels actually are.
You know what sucks is if there was a team, and I predicted it, that Trevor Bauer would go here. There was a team that needed Trevor Bauer. It was them. You put Trevor Bauer in that rotation, and now, it's a little more promising, and, you feel a little more comfortable there. Trevor Bauer is going to eat some innings. He's going to, be that frontline guy. They don't have an ace.
Rinse and repeat, Henry. We say this every year. Yeah. Every year they should be going after the top pitchers. They don't go after even the second-tier pitchers. They sign some third-tier guy. They trade for Dylan Bundy from a piss-poor developmental pitching franchise in the Orioles. Yep. And those are it makes no sense. There was a time when the Angels used to go out and sign the big contracts. It's like CJ Wilson just took the balls off of their owner. They haven't made it.
I think that was Albert Pujols.
Well, I'm talking from a pitching standpoint, but it reminds me of when we signed Jose Contreras. Brian Cashman hasn't signed a Cuban since. It's like the same. You get burned once, and all of a sudden now the Angels are like, we're never signing a pitcher again. CJ Wilson burned us.
Cashman's allergic.
Wilson Hamilton burned us, but at least they signed Rendon.
Yeah, because that's what they needed was more offense.
Right. A 30-something-year-old it's not even like Rendon was like 25 and happened to be a free agent. The dude has played great years and he's on the wrong side of 30. The Angels basically have a 2 or 3 year window before Trout and Rendon are too old, and they don't have any pitching at any level. It's just, it's a crazy approach that I don't understand. And they're going to have to go out next year and spend big, and they're probably not going to, because who the hell wants to pitch for the Angels?
Good point by Herbert. They were burned by Josh Scarface Hamilton.
Yeah.
That was a bad contract too.
It's bad. It's a bad approach all the way around. They don't
spending money is not their problem. Spending money the right way is their problem.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the West of the NL West eventually, and that's a whole. There's teams in there that have a whole different problem with rebuilding, but this is not even a problem with rebuilding. They can't build. Period. The Angels cannot build anything sustainable that has any long-term value. And that's what their issue is. And for such a big market, it's kind of like the Mets until Steve Cohen walked in. It's sad. This should be a team that's good. They should be right there with the Dodgers. Like the Mets should be right there with the Yankees on the other end in the other league, and they're not. And that's bad for baseball. It's bad for Mike Trout. And Mike Trout being on a bad team is also bad for baseball. So you're kind of taking it twice. I have the Angels maybe third. maybe third, just by default, because the other team we're going to talk about next are the Mariners. So maybe their ceiling is third and not the playoffs, though. That's how I feel.
I don't know.
But you think
I think somebody's getting some feedback.
Oh, is that me?
Maybe. But I think the Angels, I mean, at some point it has to click, right? It has to click.
Clicking?
I get it. I mean, the good thing here is that this division isn't really loaded.
Right. I would say it's bad.
You know, it's so that leaves the opening for something to happen. I mean, again, it's a rotation full of 3s and 4s. How long can you ride those guys? You'd need everyone to be on an uptick this year. Everyone.
Yeah.
And like I said, I do like their bullpen. I
mean, I just feel you can say that about 15 teams in baseball. If everything goes right, they're a playoff
right.
team.
You need everything to go right for them.
Yeah, I don't.
It's getting to the point where you like it's fun ragging on them, but like at some point you start to feel sorry for them.
Oh yeah,
I do. Look, when
and
you
so
and I had
I'm
the
getting
debate,
there. I'm there with the Angels. I'm starting to feel sorry for them.
When you and I, Henry, had the debate of where Trevor Bauer was going to go, and the one thing I told you is I guarantee you it won't be the Angels. I did correctly.
I thought it was a slam dunk because it made too much sense.
Right. That's why I picked against it. Because it was so obvious he should go to the Angels. And I'm like, you know what? The Dodgers is going to do nothing all winter. And then they're going to sign Trevor Bauer. It's going to just totally negate everything the Angels did and everything the Padres did. And if you do that and you're the Dodgers, you've done your job for the winter. That's exactly what they did.
Eddie, I think Eddie's calling for the Angels to win the division.
Well, hey, man, Eddie's a loyalist till the end. I respect that about him. I respectfully also disagree. I don't see it. I don't, even in this division, I don't even see how they're a top 2 team. And we'll get to that.
I will predict that we have a full season of Ohtani hitting and pitching.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I'm not even gonna predict that.
Something has to give. Something has to give.
Bit of a stretch.
The kid is too talented, man.
I don't deny the talent. I've never denied the talent. I do think that his pitching results in 2018 are a little suspect just because it was very picky about who he faced, when he faced them, where he faced them.
That's just it. If they can massage who he faces, then whoever he faces, who he faces, then the numbers are going to be the numbers. If they can pick and choose, if he's like their 6th starter and he gets spot starts here and there against the M's and then the M's, and then the Rangers.
Yeah, he'll only face Western.
When they face the AL East, he'll face the Orioles. You know,
yeah.
If you can, massage it that way, you'll have a successful season.
Yeah, their trip to Yankee Stadium, I'll have a hip flexor, but that's besides the point. Ricky, for me, nailed it though. That assumes he stays healthy on both pitching and hitting, and that's the part I doubt. It's not his talent; it's that I don't think he can stay healthy and do both.
Not everything can be doom and gloom with these guys. Something's got to hit.
It's pretty successful if you're doom and gloom with these guys. It hasn't steered me wrong yet. So
I think, let me see. Hold on something. Let me.
This is one of those things I would love to say, hey, but you know what? They're building something. And we've said that, the Marlins, Orioles, teams like that, they're building something. That farm's on the way. The reinforcements will arrive. They'll be fun to watch because you could watch the rebuild. I can't say any of that about the Angels. They never have an elite farm system. They don't have elite talent outside of Trout and Rendon. And Ohtani is disappointing in that regard because he never actually shows you that ceiling that we all want to see. So that's what the Angels are. I mean, I hate to just, Cubs fans and Angels fans come at me all the time because I'm always doom and gloom about them, but I have every reason to be, and they don't really disappoint me at all when I'm like this.
Pacoda has them at 86 wins.
Extreme upside.
86 wins in the 2nd place, by the way.
Who do they have
that sounds about right, actually.
Do they have Oakland winning the division?
Actually, they don't believe in Oakland this year. They have Oakland finishing 3rd. They have Houston winning the division.
Really?
If you want to talk me into Houston just completely falling apart right before the year, I think they actually will completely fall apart. I can buy it. But For me, like Oakland's the same. We'll get to them, but Oakland's the same. If the things go right for Oakland, that ceiling to me is 10 games higher than the Angels.
I agree. I usually like Pacoda standings and projections. You know, they're not that far off. I can't see the A's finishing 80 and 82. I just can't.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's what I'm getting at. If you want to talk me into the Angels can win 86 games, I won't argue that too much. Yes, that is possible. They're not that bad. Like they should be around 500 this season. I don't think they're going to lose 95 games, but if you're going to make that argument, you can make that argument for like anyone in the division could win 86 games. So we'll have to see. But yeah, not a big believer on the Angels. Don't think they're a playoff team. Maybe they can come in third. Henry might have talked me into the fact they might be able to come in second, but I still don't think they'll win a wild card. So it doesn't matter. Let's get to Seattle here. Now the Seattle Mariners are perpetually interesting to me in that they're like always in purgatory. I don't know off the top of my head, if anyone who's watching wants to look it up, I don't know if the Mariners have lost more than like 90 games this century. But they also have not made the playoffs since 2001. So they seem to be masters of 80-something wins. And last year they were 27-33, so like almost right on time. I think if I remember correctly, last year was when they had that hot start and then just like completely fell off the earth. Yeah. 27-33, a negative 49 run differential. So once things fell off, they fell off hard for Seattle. Like they just got destroyed the rest of the season. Nothing really else in their stats that screams anything other than mediocre. Let's talk about this team. Now that I'll say this about Seattle that I won't say about the Angels. Seattle has a very deep farm system. It's top 5 in baseball. So there is a time potentially when this could turn around. It's not going to be this season, but there's a time coming soon. Henry, what are your thoughts on the Mariners?
So I think the Mariners now, they're not going to be as good as the White Sox, but I think they'll be this year's White Sox. I think they'll be exciting. I think they'll be exciting.
You think they're going to be ready?
I think they'll be exciting, and I think next year we'll be talking about the M's doing something finally. They're going with a 6-man rotation. James Paxton went back there. I've always been a fan of Justice Sheffield, former Yankee, because I've always liked his stuff. He had a really, really good year last year. So I'm a big fan of their rotation, what they're doing. You got Kikuchi coming over, Justin Dunn. I'm not going to pretend to pronounce this dude's name, but I like their team. I think they have potential to be a fun team. They're not going to make the playoffs, but they'll be fun. They'll be young. They have Kyle Lewis coming off his Rookie of the Year campaign, which I absolutely love this kid last year. I think this is going to be a fun team. Not making the playoffs, but they will be fun.
I can see that. I mean, Seattle's strange because they just seem to have a strange approach to everything. Like that, that lineup's not that dynamic, but they also have guys who like come out of nowhere and have huge like half seasons. The talent, like we said, they've got some players on their team who are interesting, and they've got a lot of players in the minors who are interesting. I don't see anything that sticks out here. I'm pulling up their depth chart that makes me say, like, there's no like King Felix of 19 years old on this roster.
There's one kid, I'm sorry, Chris Flexen. That's the kid from the KBO. That's the guy I was thinking about.
Okay, yeah. I mean, Jared Klenick is injured right now, but he would figure to make his debut this season.
I mean, it doesn't matter. They were massaging his time anyway.
Yeah, he wasn't going to come up anyway. Kyle Seager's old. I think he's in a walk year for whatever reason that sticks out to me. Kyle Lewis, solid player. I don't think Justice Sheffield will embarrass himself, and he's not an ace by any means. He's only
Justice Sheffield pitched a 3.5 ERA. He had a 3.1 FIP. I mean,
in Seattle, mostly facing West teams last year. So we'll see what his 2021 looks like.
I'm a big believer on James Paxton having a bounce back year because this is what guys that leave the Yankees do.
Yeah, he's definitely going to have a Sonny Gray type season. I mean, he's going to have a sub-4 ERA. He's going to stay healthy for the most part, make like 25 starts or whatever, 27 starts, and he's going to be great.
Yeah, he's going to reach his potential finally.
Manny, the Mariners. We're starting to get towards teams you might, start to look behind you a little bit. What do you think of the Mariners?
Oh, so the Mariners, you were saying that they actually didn't start off really hot last year during the short season, but the prior 2 seasons they did.
All right, it's 2019 I'm thinking of then, yeah.
April and May of 18 and 19, they were just hot. They were the top of the division. It looked like they were like going to go like 6 or 7 games up at the end of April, and then all of a sudden they just shot down. So they're just inconsistent as far as their play goes. Their roster has totally changed the last 2 years. Just all young guys now, and that's what I've seen. Kikuchi hasn't panned out to what everybody was hoping for there. I think that they're going to be a sleeper this year, though. I don't want. I just have this gut feeling that they're going to do well. I don't think. I mean, do well. 85 win season for what they have. Maybe even win the division. I have just this gut feeling about them because they're so different from the past teams, but they are a bunch of no names. Now you have their general manager that got fired. That guy, I mean, I'm wondering if they're going to pull up guys to avoid lawsuits now because he basically admitted what they were doing.
Yeah.
So it's, and I think they're going to use that as evidence in any of those minor leaguers with the 6-year, I forgot what it's called, but it's going to be interesting if they're going to pull up some of these guys and make some moves like that. They do have a great farm system. And I actually had a little bit more insight to that team. My ex-girlfriend worked for the Mariners. So she's Japanese. She was actually an interpreter at times for the team.
Did you dump her because she worked for the Mariners?
No, actually, she's an A's fan. I met her in an A's group, but she had. I actually got to go to the stadium and check all this stuff out. I mean, just inside stuff, but she was telling me just some of the things that she knew with the Japanese players and things that she heard. And then, but she's kind of like away from that now. Actually, she doesn't work for them anymore. But anyways, I got a lot of insight just being there and being around that team and how the culture is from a fan standpoint. I swear, it's like a Dodger fandom, like as far as merchandise and everything. And it's just a totally different atmosphere. It's like they don't win, but the fans still love them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm going on to other things, but yeah, I feel like they're just going to do a little bit better and maybe even make that second spot in the division.
Okay, ballsy. I like their upside more than the Angels just because I like their farm system more than the Angels. When you have a young team like this, well, they're not really that young actually, but when you have a team like this that can kind of go either way, generally I'll side with a team that has a deep farm, and they have that, and some of those guys are major league ready. Rob lets us know, idiot me, 2019 they did lose 94 games, so they are a team that could get into the 90s there. Last time they won 90 games or more was 2003. So it's been a long time since they were good. We have Sean joining here. But yeah, Mariners to me can be anywhere from second through fourth. I really don't know where to put them, but I think I'm going to put them above the Angels because I like their farm system more. So far, 2020, despite being a short season, abbreviated season, is exactly like 2021 for me in that order. Let's get to the two boppers. These are the teams I think most people would argue are probably going to be fighting for the division. Last season, the Houston Astros finished 29-31, which was surprising to some, not to others. Kind of a tale of two seasons for them. 29-31, only a +4 run differential. They were 20-8 at home and 9-23 away, and they were 4-13 against teams above 500. All of that to me screams fluky bad. Then you look at the playoffs, they go all the way to the ALCS. They're down 3-0. They come all the way back and force a game 7, only a second team to ever do that. And then they lost to Tampa in 7 games. So now we're back at square one as far as their scandals go. We have no idea if this team can hit. We have no idea if this team can win. Lance McCullers is back and healthy. Justin Verlander's out basically, or he is out for the year. You have Greinke another year older, but he's the ace of that rotation. And then you've got their young arms kind of coming up, but Valdez is hurt, so he's going to be out a while. What do we think about the Astros here? Manny, we'll go back to you. What, the Astros, I would think to you, I know you're big on the Mariners possibly finishing second. Does that mean you're low on the Astros, or are they the team that's going to challenge you the most?
No, I think they're still the challenger. I still think they're the team to beat. They still have their team as far as like the locker room. It's changed, but the way they think, I think there's a mindset in classes where they're winners, and I think that continues on. They still got Altuve, Bregman, Correa, Gurriel, now Diaz, and Brantley. Those guys can hit. So I think, and they still have all these pitchers. They got Jacob Drosy. I can't remember how he's.
Yep.
Odorizzi, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I couldn't remember how his name was spelled, but yeah, I think they're still going to be intact. Like they're the team to beat. So I have them. I would pick them to win the division still.
Okay. Henry, do you agree?
Hell no.
You were low on them last year, and obviously so was I, but you were much lower on them last year because you didn't have them in the playoffs, and really you probably shouldn't have, but continue.
Yeah, look, I said it was the beginning of the demise of the Astros, and I think if we had a full season, that would have come to fruition the way I said it would have. There's no way that team would have lasted an entire season the way they were going. I'll give them credit in the playoffs. They made it interesting. They were exciting to watch. They came back from 3-0. They might as well have just fucking won this shit the way Tampa Bay choked in the World Series. But they came back 3-0 and that was exciting. And Correa went off and Altuve had a shitty season and then all of a sudden looked like Altuve, who was cheating 3 years ago in the playoffs. But Framber Valdez loss is a big one. It's a broken finger. You lose Verlander, Correa's walk year. Which version of Altuve is this? Just a couple years ago, we were talking about this guy as a slam dunk to get 3,000 hits. You look at his active hits, he's sitting at 1,600. So I don't think he's getting 3,000, but now is just, the back part of his career. Who is he? How long did they cheat? I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but does he have any more 200 hit seasons in him? There's a lot of questions going on. Who is Yordan Alvarez? Is he the slugger we thought he was, or is he a bust? There's a lot of question marks going. Dusty Baker going into another year. I'm not a big Dusty guy. I just have a lot of questions here, and I don't think they win this division.
Yeah, it's a lot of questions. The Astros could be very good, and they could also be very bad for all of the reasons you listed. And Carlos Correa and Justin Verlander and Zach Greinke are all entering a walk year. I have said now for 2 years that this is the last hurrah for this version of the Astros. I think 2022, they're at least going to have to retool, if not start to rebuild. That farm system is not what it once was. It is not an elite farm system. It's probably not in the upper third anymore.
They traded everyone away.
And they don't have the depth on the Major League roster to compensate for that. Odorizzi is a nice piece for 2021. He's not a long-term piece in my mind. Greinke's probably not coming back. Christian Javier was nice in a small sample size last year. Urquidy is solid. Valdez was huge in the playoffs. Yeah. They're still young arms. They're not built up. Lance McCullers is very good when he's healthy, which is rare. He's come off some major arm issues as well. So everyone loves saying this about like all 19 Yankee pitchers, but when it's a guy like McCullers, we pencil him in as number 2 starter and we're like, oh, there it goes. Astros are back. And that's just that's not the reality.
The Astros would be fools if they don't take calls on these guys. If their season doesn't go as successful as it is, and the trade deadline comes, they'd be fools not to take calls on some of these guys.
Also a good point. We get to the trade deadline. What are they? They're a smart organization. So are they going to trade some of these guys and rebuild that farm so it's not a long layoff? This franchise, where it is now with the run that they've been on, cheating or not, does not want to become the franchise that has to lose 100 games for 3 years in a row. Yep. They don't want to go back to that. So when do they bite the bullet? Or if they're flirting under 500 again, as we head into a real trade deadline, like you just said, Henry, and we're 80, 90, 100 games in, do they become sellers? And does that affect their win-loss? So a lot of question marks. I do think, Manny, what you said, and I'm not a big variable chemistry type guy, but what you said I think is important. This team does know how to turn on that switch when they need to. They have that about them as far as good teams go. Last year, they didn't really need to do it in the regular season because no one wanted to win that win the wild card, or the second place, I should say. I don't know if they can turn on that switch over long periods of time, but they did in the playoffs, and they did to make the playoffs. It's impossible to know what this team is. It could really go either way. Correa's playing for a contract. I think that's the biggest thing to watch. But even him, can he stay healthy for a full season? We know he can stay healthy for a 60-game season. Can he stay healthy for a full season? I don't think that's a guarantee. So a lot to look for the Astros. I'm going to, by default, put them in second just based on upside. That's what I have to do in this division because no one's a completed puzzle in this division. I'm going strictly upside. They don't have the farm of the Mariners, but their major league roster to me is much superior and proven, which is important. So I've got them in second place. Keeping with my theme, I'm going to have an exact same AOS as 2020. Pretty boring, but that's the way I see it. Let's finish it up here with the Oakland A's. Now, this is your team, Manny, 36-24. I think they surprised some people last year with that record. People thought they'd be worse, and they weren't. Both Henry and I, Manny, I don't know if you were watching the beginning of last season, but we were both huge Oakland A fans last year. I thought they were going to have the best record in the AL. And we'll see what we think of them this year, but let's start with you. What are your expectations for your team?
Well, in comparison to last year, I think we're about 85 to 90% of what we, as far as a quality team, as we were last year. The loss of Simeon is a big hole to fill. So, and we got Elvis Andrus, which is pretty decent. I'm optimistic about the season, especially with what's going on in spring training. You still got the mats on the corners. The mats those are the best corners in baseball to me. Of course, I'm biased, and I see them all the time, except with Chapman coming back from an injury, and he should come back really well. He's doing well right now in spring training. So I think our pitching is just what's going to tell the tale. We give up too many runs early on. We still have the same starting pitchers as last year. So nothing's changed there. But that's nothing to write home about either. So that's what it's going to depend on. We lost Liam Hendricks, solid. And, the White Sox are going to be great with all the acquisitions they have. But now we have, got his name, the closer.
Trevor Rosenthal.
Yeah. And then our outfield's not the greatest, but except for Ramon Laureano, but everybody else is just kind of standard. So I think it's just going to be a team effort. As long as we stay healthy, we don't really have anybody as far as any offensive positions to bring up. We're relying on what we have on offense, what's out there right now. Pitchers, you will probably have some to come in. So that's where I'm kind of like, realistically, that's why I have the Astros above the A's.
You have the Astros above the A's.
Yeah.
He has the Astros winning the division.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I do too.
Shawn, welcome. All right, man. Oh, we got some Astros love coming in. Got to cancel the rest of the show.
It's not love. It's more like being realistic. It's just from what I've seen.
Henry,
The A's are not. They're a little shaky. They're going to be shaky in the first month. I think we're going to have like a 13-15 record at the end of April.
So
Okay.
I think what you see with Manny is a classic case of a fan being burned.
Yeah, he's hedging.
Oh, it's still realistic. I was looking at the Astros history, 10 years ago when they started building that team. I couldn't believe the record. I just saw them again. I mean, right now looking at them, how bad they were.
Man, you're pulling a Vince special, and I respect it.
Yeah.
I like it about you.
Definitely. I was just about to say, he definitely is.
This is my business that I run.
I'm very high on the Astros. See what
Yeah.
very high on the Angels. Dakota has the Angels the A's at 80 and 82. I don't believe that. I'm going the exact opposite. In fact, I think this is the year Oakland goes deep into the playoffs. I think Matt Chapman and Matt Olson, the M&M boys, both bounce back. Both have big seasons. Stephen Piscotty cannot have season like he did last year. I think he bounces back. I don't like the swap of Simeon for Andrews for them at all. I do love the swap of Moreland for Chris Davis, big time for them. So I think that'll set off big time. I'm not a fan of the shortstop switch. I love the DH switch. Jesus Luzardo, this kid is going to be something else. I believe in AJ Puck. I like this team. Borderline love this team for 2021. Think they're going to make a lot of noise.
Yeah, Dong City's united here. You guys can say what you want about their downside, but I look at it very simply. Oakland won the division last year, and it wasn't close. They don't have a good farm. They don't have a good farm at all, I'll say that. But won the division last year, and you did it with Olsen underachieving, Chapman underachieving.
Piscotty sucked.
Piscotty sucked. Everyone in the rotation, Manaea got hurt. Montas was suspended. Or was he? Yeah, he was out like last year, right?
No, he was hurt.
He was hurt. Yeah. So I mean, you guys.
Yeah.
You still won the division. I like Sergio Romo till the day he retires. Trevor Rosenthal.
Sorry.
Yeah, Romo and Rosenthal, I think will do just fine. Oakland has a habit of having really good bullpens, even when they're old or you don't know who they are. The rotation's got the most upside to me by far. I mean, Manaea, Montez, Luzardo, Chris Bassett is solid. Fires is a solid veteran, and you have AJ Puck. Now, I'm not a big Puck guy. I don't think he'll ever stay healthy, and he's 6'7". That kind of worries me. But I am a big Luzardo guy. He can turn around, and Montez rocks out. I mean, that was a big loss. That's a big arm to have back. And then on top of it, then you get to the offense. Look, Mitch Moreland's the most Oakland replacement guy ever. I think he's going to be fine in that ballpark. Elvis Andrus, I know Henry hates it. I actually like that. I think he offers a dynamic that Oakland needs, especially in a ballpark like that. He's probably not Simeon, but they have enough there power wise to make things interesting. Laureano, I think, will have a better year. So I mean, this is, of all the teams in the division, I mean, Oakland is the closest to their ceiling coming to fruition in my mind. They don't need that many things to go right because they had so many things go wrong and they still won the division last year. So granted, they're playing other divisions. It won't be as easy because they got to play mostly their own division last year, but everyone else has the same challenge. So in my mind, I think it's their division to lose. They had a 38 run differential better than Houston last year. I'm on board. I don't. Maybe they're not going to be a World Series contender, but they definitely should win the West in my mind.
I have a fun prediction.
Okay.
There's a guy on that team that I love because he's just fun to watch and he does everything. Manny, who am I talking about?
Oh, Chad Pinder.
Oh man, Chad Pinder. My prediction is Chad Pinder will play every single position before the year's up.
Oh, I like it.
9.
All 9. He's going to play every position.
We're going to get blown out one game.
I love that kid. He's just fun. He plays every position. You pluck him and put him anywhere, and he's pretty damn good everywhere. So he's going to play every position this year. Yeah.
He's actually in depth charts on the outfield and second and third right now.
All over
so I love that guy too. He gets injured once in a while, but nothing too bad. I think Sergio Romo is going to provide he's going to be the clubhouse value this year. I really love that they picked him up. He's got a lot of insight, and he's already, working with the other pitchers, and he's trying to he's not afraid. He's not shy. So, and he's 38 now. So I think that's his value more than actually pitching. And I just hope he stays in that 4 to 5 ERA. That's the worst range he has this season, but could go another route.
Yeah, huge, rock solid. He's played for Tampa. They always seem to make guys good, and he's going to Oakland, so the ballpark should help him too. I think he'll be fine. But yeah, Henry and I are in agreement. I think it's Oakland's division. I don't know if it'll even be that close over 162 games. Manny's
just acting like a scorned girlfriend. That's all.
Yeah, I get it. Look, I finally picked the Yankees to win the division last year, and they burned me, so I get it. Manny, before we show you off here, since you won't be on our show the night before opening day, what's your World Series prediction?
Oh shoot! I really didn't put too much thought. I mean,
Can't say the A's.
Well, we know it's not going to be
no,
over.
no. No, it's well, yeah, my dream one is A's versus Padres probably, but I'm gonna go. I think that the Padres. I like that team. I mean, I've followed them by just being there. I go to San Diego a lot. I go to a lot of games there, and now to see all these names and what's going on there, I'm like, okay, it's not just that. It's everything that in that rivalry now with the Dodgers. So I think we have a full season. They're gonna win it, the division this year. I hope. I know it's part of me being a fan, but I think so. Padres in the NL, the AL. I really like the White Sox. I mean, they're the ones I've seen that are just. I saw them up close just watching games last year in the playoffs, and I like what I saw then. And to see them improve on the offseason, I think they're ready.
Okay. Rob, you got that? White Sox and Padres, our first World Series prediction of the season. Thank you, Manny, for joining us. Have a good rest of your night.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate this. And too bad I didn't go on when I was in Hawaii. I wish I had done that, but it didn't work out.
I would have been jealous for sure.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Take it easy.
Yeah. And now we will switch it over here to the NL West. Immediately insert old Dong City friend here, Shawn. How are you?
What's up? How's it going, guys? Good.
Good. You are now defending champion, Shawn.
Now you're back on Dong City. How many inches did it grow since the World Series?
It's been a lot longer than 4 hours since you won the World Series. So
Yeah.
Dong went from being white to black.
Let's get it started, Shawn. You know the rules. We're going to go bottoms up here in the NL West. Very intriguing division, I think, for a lot of people. We start with the Diamondbacks, who last season 25-35, 9-15 against teams over 500. They were winning record at home, but 9-21 on the road, negative run differential. Arizona Diamondbacks. We'll get you warmed up here, Shawn. What do you think of them?
I don't think they're as bad as some people are saying. I think if you get a bounce back year from Escobar, if you get a bounce back year from Marte wasn't great last year either, right? And I really love Gallen. I think Gallen could be a potential Cy Young contender. They have a few bullpen arms. It's a little shaky in the bullpen. I don't know. I think they're around 500, 82 wins, 83 wins for the Diamondbacks. I'm not as down on them as others seem to be.
I take it you assume you don't think they'll finish last again.
No, I definitely don't think they're finishing last. Not with Colorado in the division. I think Colorado
Fair.
possibly the worst team in baseball. I mean, they're up there.
Henry, what do you think of the Diamondbacks?
I think the Diamondbacks absolutely suck.
I'm with you, and I want to know why. So go ahead.
The Diamondbacks are absolute trash. I got them pegged for like 77, 78 wins.
All right, that's not that much different than 82.
Zach Gallen is all they have to look forward to. They have Joakim Soria on this team. They gave a 5-year deal to Madison Bumgarner. Come on.
Let's face it. There's only 2 teams in the division, so we're putting the bottom 3.
Ketel Marte. What version are we getting of Ketel Marte? I'm just not a fan of this. Zach Gallen is probably the only thing worth watching on this team to see if this kid reaches a ceiling or anything close to it. I'm not a fan of this team whatsoever.
I'm not either, and they scare me for all the bad reasons. Their good young players weren't good last year. Now, short sample size, weird season. A lot of good players were bad, but the upside of the other guys is Bumgarner's finished. He is having such a classic Giants starter career. It's not even funny. You might as well call him Tim Lincecum.
Which is great. How great is Bumgarner sucking? I mean, that's just something to celebrate. for everyone.
He'll retire in when this contract's up, go back to his like South Carolina barn or wherever the
You're
hell
assuming he even finishes this contract.
Yeah, look, his arm is finished.
There's no way he's got 5 years in him. No way.
He could be all the 6'4" he wants. He's finished. He doesn't have Lincecum's frame, but the Giants, they won 3 titles. They burn their arms out. This is what they do. And we saw Bumgarner trial by fire be burned out every October. So it's totally acceptable and normal for this to happen. Terrible acquisition, made no sense for the Diamondbacks. That's a move you expect from the Blue Jays or Angels, and they didn't even make it.
Didn't they get us Drupal Cabrera?
Yeah.
Come on.
You got, Carson Kelly is like the master of none over there at catcher. Christian Walker.
Carson Kelly, for the record, Carson Kelly was the guy that everyone wanted to push Yadier Molina out of St. Louis for, by the way.
Yeah.
Everyone was in a hurry to push Yadier Molina out in St. Louis so this kid can get it started, and he's barely holding on.
This is another offense, totally 21-21 type offense. It's not really that dynamic to me. They're not capable of a lot yet. Cole Calhoun actually might be my favorite player in this lineup, right field over there. Austin Spiro Jr. But yeah, there's just not a lot of upside. Zach Gallen, I agree, is great. I love Zach Gallen, but then you got Merrill Kelly, sounds like a Walking Dead character. Luke Weaver, we're waiting for him to explode every year. And then you got Bumgarner, who is a bust, and he hasn't even thrown a pitch for the Diamondbacks yet.
Nick Ahmed is still the shortstop for the Diamondbacks. How many years have we been saying this? We talked about this with Felipe yesterday. How many years have we been saying Nick Ahmed to the Diamondback? Like, come on.
I feel like half their team is like that. You're like every year, you're like, oh, this guy might have a great season, then he doesn't. But to your point, Sean, I don't think they'll come in last because the Rockies exist. Yeah. So let's talk about the Rockies here. Last year, 26-34. They only finished 3 games out of the wild card in an expanded playoff. They're not going to sniff that this year. Negative 78 run differential. So they were probably worse than 26-34 in a small sample size. And they were 9-15 against teams above 500. So it wasn't a fluke. This is a team that traded Nolan Arenado. Henry's heartbroken, lost their best player, future Hall of Famer Nolan Arenado, Team USA champion Nolan Arenado.
Fake ass Puerto Rican
NL version of Matt Chapman, Nolan Arenado. We go on and on, but they lost him.
Let me mute you.
This is the funniest thing about the Rockies. Daniel Bard is their closer right now.
Daniel Bard is the closer.
Yeah,
I'm going to take my drafts, definitely.
The man was gone for 6 years. He comes back. He's closing for the Colorado Rockies. And then you get to their lineup. This is another team, just like the Diamondbacks. This is the point I was going to make earlier with the AL West. The AL West, like the Angels and Rangers right now, have no idea how to build a team. But the NL West teams have no idea how to rebuild a team. The Giants should have rebuilt like 3 years ago. The Rockies are half-assing whatever it is they're trying to do, like little like leaks of smart decisions too late, and then they don't get a good return. And the Diamondbacks are perpetually mediocre like the Mariners. So outside of the Dodgers and Padres, like you said, Sean, this division just doesn't have their shit together. And we've been waiting on Ryan McMahon and Brendan Rodgers and Garrett Hampson forever. Forever it feels like we're waiting for these guys to break out, and they just haven't yet.
I feel like you could take those bottom 3 teams and they're just, I wouldn't be surprised if they finished in any order. And it's really bad for they have a terrible starting pitching staff and they don't have a good bullpen and they play in Colorado. And they lost their cleanup hitter. So you don't see too much upside there other than Story and an aging Blackman. Who is even their starting pitching staff? I can't even think of it off the top of my head.
By the way, Ramel Tapia, another guy we've been waiting to like spoil. Everyone loved that guy's hitting profile like 2 years ago. He was like the it guy.
The only Tapia I recognize is Johnny Tapia.
Herman Marquez.
That guy I like very much.
I like his arm. I think he'll be traded. So it's kind of moot.
So look, here's the thing. You got 4 storylines with Colorado. Who's going to trade for Herman Marquez? Mm-hmm. When are they going to trade Trevor Story? Mm-hmm. When will John Gray get hurt? Mm-hmm. And how many home runs is CJ Cron going to hit in Coors? That's it.
Yeah. Now to answer your question, Sean, they have Marquez, they have Antonio Sensatola, who I believe was the worst pitcher in baseball in 2019.
He's terrible.
Yeah. He's young for what it's worth. not too young, 26 this year. Kyle Freeland, who I actually think will have a bounce back. I actually like Kyle Freeland.
You never know with
Yeah, certainly not going to be an ace. And then you got John Gray, who Henry said is
John
just
Gray, yeah.
time. Austin Gombar, Derek Rodriguez, Giants cast off. Chichi Gonzalez is over there, and then you've got a bunch of guys who sound like they're in boy bands. So that's the Rockies depth chart for the rotation. The bullpen, like I said, when you've got Daniel Bard starting in the closer role, it's not promising, and the bullpen reflects that. It's a lot of guys I've never heard of or don't care about.
They have a Chichi and they have a Rodriguez in their rotation. I'm just saying.
You're going to see some
Joe dynasty. My dynasty league has a running joke about Connor Joe. He's over there on the roster. Greg Bird, old friend of the Yankees. Another guy. We're waiting for him to explode. Hasn't happened in 10 years. It feels like.
Greg Bird lead the Rockies in home runs in 2021.
No, he's hitting 41 home runs this year for sure. It'll be the Coors effect. This is what I'll say. The positive things about the Rockies, because even their positive things like Blackman's getting older, so that there's some water on that. Trevor Story and Marquez will both be traded, like Henry said. I like Colton Welker. He's having a big spring. I think he'll be starting at third by the end of the year, probably earlier than that. And they do have some guys like we mentioned who, Garrett Hampson could turn it around and Brendan Rodgers could turn it around, but they still have to. And in Coors, there's no excuse not to as a hitter, but they've still figured out how to just not, like, none of their prospects pan out to be what they're supposed to be.
Which team will be suckered into taking Charlie Blackman?
Oh God. He seems like such a Cardinal to me, but I don't know why they would do it. But
you would have to get him real cheap. Like, you can't give up anything to get Charlie Blackman at this point, right?
Blackman, I assume, is in a walk here, Henry.
Huh? I think this is Charlie Blackman's walk here. Let me.
Okay.
You're gonna see some ugly games there in Colorado when the Dodgers and the Padres go there.
Oh my God!
Even the NL East teams when the Braves go there.
We might see some 20 spots.
Are you ready for this?
God.
Yeah.
And then when they play each other, when it's the Rockies versus the Diamondbacks or the Rockies versus the Giants, that's going to be some ugly things.
Wait. I want to bring in some comedic relief here. Charlie Blackman, 2021 is due $21 million. 2022, $21 million. 2023, $13 million.
Oh my God! Couldn't happen to a nicer team.
Oh, by the way, everyone, we know Trevor's story splits. You guys know I've drilled Arenado splits into your head by now. You want to see some nasty splits? Go look at Charlie Blackman's splits.
Oh my God, I know.
They're worse than Arenado's.
Yeah, he's definitely a product, of course, without question.
He can still go get it in center field, but oof.
Yeah, he's a good baseball player, but he's not,
He's Jackie Bradley Jr., but got paid.
Yeah, making 20 mil.
I don't, you can talk me into Trevor's Story this winter. I have no interest, and I say this as a Yankees fan because they may or may not be in the market for a shortstop by the All-Star break. I have no interest in trading for Trevor Story. I have no interest in trading for Charlie Blackman. Marquez, you can talk me into, but those two, no. And they will be traded, you're right.
Yeah, he's still a Rockies pitcher, and Marquez has the arsenal, but he's a Rockies pitcher.
Right.
John Gray was supposed to break that mold, and
if the Texas Rangers are anywhere near 500, that's like the perfect team to make a trade for one of those outfielders.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, for one of those hitters.
Same division, different team. The Angels, because that's a very Angels thing to do.
Yeah.
Angels are like, you know what? We need 3 pitchers. Let's trade for Charlie Blackman.
That's it.
He'll be the buffer for Joe Adell once Dexter Fowler gets hurt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He'll take over Justin Upton's contract there.
Yeah. So I've got, this is my first split from 2020. I've got the Rockies and Diamondbacks flip-flopping. Diamondbacks 4th, Rockies 5th.
I got the Rockies winning maybe 67, 70 games, 72 games tops.
Yeah.
They won't crack 70.
They won't lose 100. I do think they will lose 90. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
90 and 100 losses. I think the Diamondbacks will be a little bit better. I think that they'll like 85, 86 losses, I'll say. And then you move on to the San Francisco Giants, who I think are very comfortably right in their third place spot where they wanted to be ever since they won the World Series by not rebuilding ever and having one of the oldest teams in the majors, despite having no chance at winning the division over the next 5 to 10 years. So let's get to them. These are the heroes of yesteryear. They remind me so much of the Phillies after they won their world. And granted, Giants had a pseudo dynasty. They did everything right. They won 3 World Series. You can't take that away from them. But much like the Phillies after their run in 2008 through 2010, they did not know when to fold them. They did not follow Kenny Rogers' advice. And here they are with a team. I think their average age is over 30. This isn't a team that's like rebuilding with like young, sexy prospects and they're not good yet. This is a team that has some of that, but also a lot of old guys signed to like legitimate money too. This isn't a team that has a huge payroll flexibility. So I don't really know what's going on there. Sean, we'll start with you. This is your mortal sworn enemy. What do you think of the Giants?
Well, before we do that, I'd just like to say I hate the Rockies more than I hate the Giants.
Really?
Yeah. As an organization, I just can't stand them for various reasons. We won't even go into that. But I think the Giants are kind of finally on the right track where you could see a little glimmer of hope maybe 2-3 years from now. But as of now, they're a very mediocre team, other than Yastrzemski, who really excites you on that team. Very few players, right? But I think that once they clear out all those old guys and they bring some prospects up, they should make a bunch of trades. I think maybe they'll be back a few years from now. But this year, definitely not. Next year, definitely not. So, but definitely not as bad as the Rockies. Definitely not as bad as the Rockies.
That's true. And I also have faith in the Giants. See, here's the thing about the Giants that I'll give them credit for. I have disagreed with everything they've done since it was evident they were no longer going to be a World Series contender, which was evident as early as 2017, and they still haven't rebuilt. They do play above their heads. Credit to them. Like every year, I'm like, this team sucks. And they're like, well, actually, we're mediocre. So I'll give them that. I wish my Giants in football would be like that. They're not. They're just like, hey, we suck instead. So I'll give them that credit. But to your point, Sean, I agree with you. I think they're starting to be on the right track. They've taken some other teams' prospects. So they've got some guys. Yastrzemski, like you said, is there. Joey Bart is just about major league ready.
Mm-hmm. They got a few players, It's not as bare as the Rockies, that's for sure. I think I lost you.
Vince, you there?
Did we lose Vince?
I think we lost Vince.
Yeah.
He froze on my screen. So.
It's okay. He's frozen on mine. So Vince, he said they were mediocre. He's not wrong. I will say I personally give the Giants credit because I thought they were going to be absolutely hard last year, and they competed all the way to the end.
They play the right way.
Yeah, they could have traded a bunch of veterans until they credit. They did not do so. They kept playing. They wanted to, make a playoff spot with expanded playoffs. I will give them that credit. I think this year you see them trade some of those guys. You get Buster Posey coming back. He left last year. Tommy La Stella is playing third base. Evan Longoria is finally on his way out the door. I think they trade their entire infield eventually. We don't know who Donovan Solano is, what version of Donovan Solano we're going to see. This guy is already in his 30s, I believe. And he had a hell of a season last year, but is that who he really is? So I don't think they're going to make noise, but I will put some respect on their name, as Birdman says. And I will, they're not going to finish last. I'll have them coming in third, but I will put some respect in the name. I appreciate how they're run as an organization. They still have $150 million plus payroll. You got to respect the Giants. They believe in whatever it is that they're doing. It may not work, but they're playing the right way, like you said, Sean. They're not trading everyone. They're not tanking. They're trying to make a playoff spot, and that has something to be said to it. So, I definitely think we have to give the Giants some credit there.
Yeah, once they get rid of a lot of the dead wood, a lot of those older guys, I think maybe they'll have something going in a couple of years, and they might be a 500 team this year with the way they play.
Plus, like you said, Joey Bart is going to be a fun guy to watch.
Yeah.
So we'll continue. Vince will probably hang up and call back in.
All right.
That leads us. We went to the Diamondbacks. We did the Rockies, and there's Vince coming back now. Let's see. Let him connect. There you go, Vince.
Oh, there I am. Yeah, that was a weird purgatory. Hope everyone enjoyed face for a long period of time.
You mentioned the New York Football Giants, and your shit went dark.
Yeah, that's right. They even told me on our own podcast. Anyway, I'm not completely sure what was discussed. Are we done with the
So
Giants?
basically, what I said was we got to put some respect on the Giants' name for the way they went about things. I have them trading their entire infield, and Joey Bart eventually gets called up.
I hope that is the case. A trade, like an actual fire sale, would do wonders for them, and they're close enough with their farm system now where like one big fire sale and maybe one bad 2022, and that team could be contending for something. It's going to be tough because of these next two teams.
But like I said, you do have to give them some credit. They did
Absolutely.
They played it the right way. They're not cheap. Their payroll still over $150 million. They didn't tank. They didn't mail it in. They didn't trade everyone away. I still give the Dodgers the Giants some respect as to how they're run.
Yeah, I agree. They never sold out for their fans. And there's something you said for it. It's old school. It's not something a lot of people agree with, but they did it. And look, you win 3 titles in 5 years, you get like a 5 to 10 year reprieve regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and let's be real, they let go of Mad Bum at the right time. They held ground. They didn't re-sign him. They could have re-signed him and brought him back, and no one would have said anything about it. But they did the right thing for their franchise and they moved on.
Yeah.
That was a smart move. I agree. One of the moves I agree with their rebuild. So speaking of rebuilds, I don't know what you want to call it, but the San Diego Padres just had some winter. And by far the most lightning rod intriguing team this winter. This is the it team ever since the playoffs, when they started just donging the shit out of everyone, making a run, moving all the way up to the Dodgers in a nice NLCS matchup. And then the Dodgers promptly took care of them almost effortlessly. And here we go. The Padres, credit to them, did not back down from that ass kicking and say, you know what, we're going to try again 2022, 2023. Instead, they were like, we're going straight for your jugular, and we're going to do everything we can to win the World Series this year. They acquired Yu Darvish, and the Cubs gave him away because they have a terrible front office. They acquired Blake Snell, and Tampa gave him away, and we'll see how that benefits Tampa eventually, because I'm sure it will. They have Lamet, who I've been calling an ace in the making now for 2 years, and I think this is the year he does it. And then we Chris Paddock. I mean, we forgot about Chris Paddock, and the dude almost won Rookie of the Year last year.
Yeah, they have a scary rotation, that's for sure.
Yeah, and then Joe Musgrove, rock solid extra arm. Clevenger gets hurt, tough break, but he's there too. So
I think the only question is Lamet and Snell have never pitched 200 innings. We don't know how the arm's going to hold up. I know Lamet has had a lot of issues in the past. So he's going to need to stay healthy if they're going to, challenge for the division, I think.
Yeah. Now they've got 4 guys who could theoretically pitch like an ace this year. So they've got that going for them, to your point. And they have at least 5 guys who will fill out a rotation nicely. And they still have a deep farm system. It's probably not the best in baseball anymore, but it's still very, very good. And they still have Mackenzie Gore roaming around. Who knows when he's going to be up to the majors or not. I don't think he's pitched in AA yet. But
that was some 4D chess to make all those moves and still wind up with most of your prospects intact. Absolutely. I mean, that was pretty impressive. Hey.
Fleecing the shit out of the Cubs will do that. Cubs who are like, we've got our biggest trade piece, let's do a salary dump. Sounds like the right move with our terrible farm system that we could have supplemented. By the way, AL and NL Central previews next week. So, the bullpen, Mark Melancon back there. They got Drew Pomerantz and Emilio Pagan, Matt Strahm, all of these guys, again, big upside. It's a pretty good bullpen.
Pretty good.
Javi Guerrero, one of those guys I'm always intrigued by. He's like one of those freak hybrid reliever type arms. Adrian Morjon, big time prospect who's now got his feet wet in the majors, and he's he'll be there all year. Ryan Weathers, Henry's favorite player ever. He's over there.
I'm a big Ryan Weathers fan. Everyone talks about Mackenzie Gore, which I don't blame them, but they always Weathers is always forgotten about. I'm a big fan.
Yeah. Yeah, you were a big fan of them acquiring him for sure. And then we get to the offense. Austin Nola acquired for catcher.
Solid.
Eric Hosmer acquired for first base.
Pretty good.
Moves Jake Cronenworth over at second, coming off a big year. Just in case, by the way, they also have Ha-Seong Kim, the Korean import, and Jurickson Profar as infield depth. Manny Machado comes back at third. Fernando Tatis Jr., maybe the most electric player right now in baseball, signed just a $11 billion contract. He's over there at shortstop.
Yep.
And then your outfield of Trent, season on the line, Errol Grisham, Will Myers, and Tommy Pham. And yeah, I mean, it's a loaded team. There's no getting around it. A lot of talent to go around.
Now, didn't Pham get stabbed in the offseason, something like that? Didn't Pham have a stab wound he had to take care of? He's like a guy that I think is a little questionable. I don't know.
He not only got stabbed, but he also just turned 31 for what it's worth.
Yeah, and he may be the one bat that be on the downside. But if you have Tatis and Machado, and I really like Myers, I feel like he's at blossoming again. Yeah, they're going to score a million runs. They're going to prevent. I think they're the second best team in baseball, if you ask me bluntly.
My favorite thing about the Padres this year is they very quietly traded for old Yankee favorite prospect Jorge Mateo, who that was like the guy for Yankee fans.
I remember him.
Yeah, he was in the Sonny Gray trade with James Caprelli and Dustin Fowler.
That's right.
The Padres basically signed him to be a specialized pinch runner, which cracks me. Like, they could afford to trade for this former big-time prospect. The dude's got like 80 speed, so it's a perfect role for him. But he really was traded to basically be a pinch runner, and that cracked me up. That's a testament, by the way, to how far Jorge Mateo's stock has fallen, and also how loaded the Padres are at the same time.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, 95 wins minimum.
Okay. You got, I assume second place is where you've got them.
Yeah, I got them about 5 back, 5-7 back.
Is 95 wins the second best record in the NL?
I think them and the Braves will fight for second best record. I think the Dodgers and the Padres are the two best teams in baseball. Personally, you can make an argument for the Braves. You can make an argument for the White Sox, the Yankees, and that's about it, right? Dodgers, Padres.
You got about a handful, yeah.
It's definitely not a very big list, I don't think, this year.
No.
Padres,
very top-heavy baseball.
Padres went 37-23 last season, which was the second best record in the NL, and they finished 6 games out of first place to the Dodgers. Plus 84 run difference. They scored 325 runs in 60 games. That's good. And for what it's worth, their Pythagorean had them winning 38 games instead of 37. So you can argue they slightly underachieved. Winning record at home, winning record away, 6-7 against plus 500 teams for what it's worth. Very small sample size. There's nothing in their short season last year that would imply it's a fluke. They've obviously added way more talent than they had last year in the offseason. Is there any chance here, Sean, that this team maybe takes that 1 step forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward approach where they might actually regress a little this year before exploding in 2022? Or are you 100% on board this team's challenging for second best record in the NL?
100% on board. I don't think they take a step back with their young players blossoming. Tatis, he's going to be better than he was last year, I would say. And, Darvish is rock solid. Snell, while he might not be as durable as others, when he's on, he's one of the best. That's a scary pitching staff. I think just that keeps their floor very low. I don't think they can be an underachieving team. Underachieving would be 88, 90 wins, I think.
Yeah, 90 wins to me. If the Padres win less than 90 games, I don't care how many injuries they had. That's going to be a major disappointment. And I don't say that to sound hypocritical, right? Because, my own team last 2 years had catastrophic injury. But the Padres, the winter they just had, this team has to win 90 plus or else it's a disaster. And they have the depth to do it. Henry, what do you think about the Padres?
I think the Padres are it. I think if they don't win, it's like the biggest choke job ever. That is a team without a hole in it. That team had such an amazing offseason that if you go back one more offseason, they actually did the unthinkable. They beat Tampa Bay in a trade.
Yeah.
The Tommy Pham trade, the Padres won. Jay Cronenworth, Tommy Pham for Hunter Renfroe and someone else. But Tampa Bay lost that trade. Tampa Bay never loses a trade. Now, to Sean's point about durability and baseball, I think we have to get off that train. I think we have to let go of the idea that pitchers are pitching 200 innings. 2018, only 15 pitchers pitched over 200 innings. 2019, only 13 pitchers pitched over 200.
Mm-hmm.
Those days are long gone. Guys, managers don't ride them anymore. The analytics say what we saw on the national stage with Blake Snell is what Tampa Bay does. If the stats say you are only effective through the first 2 times of the rotation, I don't give a fuck about what you're doing. That's all you're pitching. That's where Tampa Bay loses me, that they don't have a feel for the game. Because Snell was dominating.
Unless it's the World Series and Snell is dominant.
Yeah, they don't. That's just it. They don't. That's where Tampa Bay always loses me. They don't have a feel for the game. They have their book, they have their numbers, and they stick to it no matter what. The win or die, they will tell you that they were right, even if the results were wrong.
Yeah,
because they don't have a feel for the game, and that's where you kind of lose me. You need touch and feel along with analytics. You look at Blake Snell in the World Series, he was dealing. He probably would have went out there and pitched a complete game shutout the way he was going. And I just, this rotation is 6 deep. You got Clevenger coming back next year. You have Weathers and Gore coming right after that. The reinforcements are coming heavy and cheap. So this team can be an absolute juggernaut for close to a decade. I mean,
yeah, that's scary.
It's absolutely ridiculous what they did in the offseason. That team is loaded. There's 0 holes in there. Their worst player is probably some team's best player. So I just, Tatis is just exciting. Is he as good as everyone says? It's kind of hard to maintain that level of hype. There's only one Mike Trout. And I know we love Mike Trout and our group loves Mike Trout. There's only one Mike Trout. You don't see that kind of production, especially from the shortstop position. And when you do, there are guys named A-Rod, and there's things that, go inside of them that aren't legit. So you very rarely see that kind of production from the shortstop position. I actually think that Tatis takes a little step back just because the hype is too impossible to match. So, but this team is absolutely loaded, and they're going to win 100+ games. I think they'll challenge 115 all-time record.
I've never agreed and disagreed with you so much in one sentence there. I agree with you on Tatis. I do think it's almost impossible for him to meet expectations, especially now that he's got that contract.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, if you look at his 2019, obviously only 54 at bats. Only 54 at bats. He wasn't. You look at him; he hasn't had a full season where he's put it all together. That's what I'm trying to say. And maybe that can happen. He's got a great supporting cast around him, but he's also 23. He's never had a full season where he's put it all together. And 2020, I think, changes expectations unfairly to a lot of players for better or worse, and maybe him in the most extreme example. I don't know if he is the guy yet who's going to be in that conversation with a Juan Soto, and I'm speaking offensively here, or Mike Trout, or, I don't think he's coming for the throne quite yet. All the talent in the world could absolutely do it. He's exciting. He's fun. He's good for baseball, unlike Trout and his personality. But I don't think he's in that inner circle yet, and I think he's being treated like that, and I think he's going to be a little bit outside of that this season. Mm-hmm. As far as the Padres themselves, completely agree with you, Sean. This is to me undoubtedly the second best team in the league. Probably in all of baseball, definitely in the NL. I think they're better than the Braves. We'll get to the East obviously in a couple of weeks. This team is loaded. They did everything right, like Henry said, in the offseason. They didn't give up a shit ton of talent. They still have a deep farm. They have depth in the major league roster. Their front end depth is fantastic everywhere, both in the rotation, in the lineup, and in the bullpen. They've just got everything going for them. The only thing they don't have going for them is that they share a division with the Dodgers. That's it. Everything else is going for them. They've done a fantastic job to build this team and put it in the franchise position it's in. I don't think they're going to be historically good. mainly because they have to play the Dodgers a lot, and I don't think teams like the Giants are awful.
Mhm.
But I do think if you want to talk me into 100+ wins, I can buy that. If you want to talk me into a 90-win floor, I can buy that too. If you want to talk me into an NLCS rematch, I can absolutely eat that up as well. Or I'm sorry, it wasn't a rematch because the Braves were there. But if you want to talk me into a Dodgers Padres rematch, I could buy that too.
It'll be a lot of fun.
So do the TV networks.
I was going to say, unfortunately, it's impossible because one of them has to win the wild cards. They're playing each other in the first real round.
Yeah.
But if by some miracle one of those teams doesn't have the best record, I would love to see that NLCS. I think they are by far the two best teams, and this will be the biggest example besides you're right there with 2018 as to why these rules are stupid for wild card. Because you're having absolutely the two best teams almost inevitably facing each other in that first round, assuming the
Not
Padres
to mention teams that are actually spending money who are competing. It's funny how that goes hand in hand,
yeah,
right?
amazing.
Yeah.
What are the Padres? The 20th biggest market. So they've got a really big mattress they're reaching under. I don't know where it came from, but they've got a really big mattress where they could pull this money out
It's
right
amazing.
in a pandemic.
Spending money
Yeah,
correlates to winning. It's just fucking absolutely amazing.
it is so crazy when you invest in your own business, you can get positive results. I don't.
No
Nuts.
$15 minimum wage, Vince.
Nope. So there you have it with the Padres. Everything positive I can say about them. I love what this team did in the offseason. They really led the way, and they really were the first team to be innovative. I said this in 2019 that 2020 was going to cause a lot of havoc for 2021 with the pitchers in particular, because you had a very small season. It's going to be a lot of strain on the arms. You have to have deep rotations. The Padres were the first team who really went out there and they were like, you know what? We don't need 5 starters. We need 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys who can get us through this season. Now, the only team who's actually inherently been doing that already are the Los Angeles Dodgers. So we get to them now. Los Angeles Dodgers didn't need to do that this offseason because they already had like 8 really good starters. And then they went and they added Trevor Bauer, which almost seems unfair. So let's talk about the Dodgers. And Sean, you could lead us off. We know the accolades. They're defending World Series champions. They went 43-17 last year, which was a 116-win pace if you extrapolated that to a full season. They won 8 of their last 10 regular season games. They obviously did well in the playoffs. They scored 349 runs. They had a 136 run differential. They went 21-9 at home, 22-8 away, so there's no real splits there. And they went 8-5 against teams over 500. Sean, what do you think of your Los Angeles Dodgers and their chance to repeat this year?
Well, I think they have a great chance. I still think they're slightly better than the Padres. Henry might disagree, but I think if you throw out 7 starters, you have Kershaw, Bauer, Buehler, which is scary. I mean, just think of what I just said there. You got Kershaw, Bauer, and Buehler. That's scary. Even if they didn't have a deep staff, that would be enough to win 95 games, I think. But then you have Price with a year off. You have Dustin May, you have Gonsolin, and you have Urias. And I think you're going to see those 4 guys. You rotate the last 2 spots. And I think that I was talking about this with someone earlier. The Dodgers are going to be sneaky with that IL.
Yeah.
Dustin May is going to suddenly wake up with a stiff neck one day.
Yeah.
He's
That's
on the
Red Sox special.
Yeah.
They used to do that all the time in like the 07 era.
So they're going to manage that staff very well, I think. I don't think that an injury is a big deal. Even if Kershaw misses 6 weeks, I don't think it's a big deal. So I think they have the best pitching staff in baseball as far as depth and being top heavy.
Yeah, it's look, the rotation. This is the other thing I like about the Dodgers rotation. Trevor Bauer, lesser extent Clayton Kershaw, but Trevor Bauer, David Price in particular are guys who are legacy 200 inning type arms. These are guys who are fully built up. Henry's right. The days of 200 innings, those days are probably over. It's the expectations now gone. A 300 hitter used to be good. Now it's like 280. Well, 200 innings used to be good. Now it's like 175.
Yeah.
I think eventually you're going to see a lot of 150 inning type arms out there. And it's going to start to intermingle with relievers who are going to be over 100 innings. They're going to be like, it's going to be that close of a gap. But for the Dodgers, you have 2 or 3 guys who have those innings. And then you're down the guys who don't have those innings, Dustin May, Julio Urias, Tony Gonzalez, Walker Buehler, 4 of the best pitchers in baseball. So that's what you're dealing with when you're talking about the Dodgers is, yeah, you're right. They can take 1 or 2 guys out of those rotations, plug the other guys in, and you don't miss a beat.
No love for Tony Gonsolin? Jam, guys.
No, we mentioned him.
Yeah, I mentioned
Okay.
I think it's Gonzalez, but yeah, Gonsolin. And I like Gonsolin, I think, almost as much, if not more, than Dustin May. I like him that much.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think May better raw stuff, but it looks like Gonsolin is a little more polished already.
Yeah, he kind of came right on the scene, and Julio Urias, the best arm out of all of them to me. This guy is still, he was a generational prospect. Like his arm was a generational prospect arm before he had the major injury, and then he came back from that injury perfectly fine. That expectation for me isn't gone. I think this guy is an ace. He just hasn't had the innings yet. So,
and he's proven to pitch in any situation. Obviously, he's closing out the World Series. Closing out the NLCS.
Very David Price-esque, right? Early on in his career, we saw that. So this is a flat out. It's the best. Padres did an amazing job. I'd still take the Dodgers pitching staff. Yeah, at least in the rotation. Now their bullpen. Kenley Jansen kind of scares me every single year, and he's getting older.
But everyone else, I mean,
Graterol has an amazing arm.
Victor, great year, Yeah.
Well, you've got Treinen, Kelly, Canley, and Knubel. Those are 4 veteran arms who are rock solid, right? Like, they have question marks for injuries, but they're rock solid arms.
They are rock solid. Gonzalez was great last year. He was a rookie too, and he was pitching big outs, in the playoffs. I liked what I saw out of him. Once the playoffs roll around, you're going to have Gonsolin or May or Urias or Price. You're going to have a combination of them in the bullpen. Pitching long relief, maybe even taking over as the closer role. Who knows? But that depth is going to come in handy in the playoffs, especially.
Yeah. Well, that's the name of the game. The best teams in baseball this year are the ones with the most depth. Dodgers have the most depth and the most upside. So that's why they're at the top looking down at everyone. And chances are they're still going to be there. We don't have to get into the offense, but Will Smith, Keibert Ruiz, big time prospect, not a spot for him. Gavin Lux was the second best prospect in baseball, and they don't have a spot for him.
Yeah. I know.
They'll have a spot for him next year. Don't worry.
Max,
that might be cooking up a trade too. I think Ruiz will eventually get traded because Smith is the guy. I think they're committed to him, and people like Ruiz.
Yeah,
that'll be the next. Andrew Friedman.
Edwin Rios can hit. Not a spot for him.
Yep.
Chris Taylor was the darling like 3 years ago of that team. He was the gem. Not a spot for him.
He'll be the Kike Hernandez this year, Chris Taylor. Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, Mookie Betts is there with Bellinger.
Betts, Bellinger, and Pollock. That's a decent outfield.
This team is unbelievable. What the Dodgers do better than every other team in baseball, and no one's really caught up to them yet, is they have enough depth at all times to make the trade if they have to, and also have the major league talent to win a World Series. That's what and they have the payroll flexibility to go out and get a Mookie Betts and extend him for over $400 million. That is the combination they've found that the Rays can't do because of payroll, that the Braves can't do because they don't trade for anyone useful ever, that the Padres can't do because they haven't won the World Series yet. The Yankees can't do because they can't figure out how to make that jugular trade yet. They don't consistently have the farm system that the Dodgers do where they could just plug and play. Only the Dodgers have that formula. That's why they've been World Series contenders for several years now. They finally won one, and now, in my mind, they are again the best team in baseball and should win this division. So I've got them in first place here. I'm assuming you agree, and I'm also actually we'll get to Henry, but Sean, I'm assuming you agree with me. Dodgers will win this division.
I have them winning division, not that comfortably over the Padres, but I think they're the best team. And Corey Seager is what he thought he would be now. That was in question.
If he stays healthy, yes.
If he stays healthy, I mean, you're talking a guy who can make it 290, 330. The guy's great. You have a lot of depth. You got Turner at third, and you also have Rios. You could put Muncy at second, and don't forget Lux is the wild card. Lux has been hitting in the spring. If he wins a job and he's 80% of what he's supposed to be, that's another bat. There's no holes there.
And by the way, Ricky had mentioned Kershaw. I've been down on Kershaw for a few years. Won't draft him in fantasy because he gets hurt and because he's not the Sandy Koufax prime anymore. But Trevor Kershaw, Clayton Kershaw could be a number 3 starter on this team, and that's perfectly acceptable.
That's perfectly fine.
So it doesn't matter what Clayton Kershaw really is. All that matters is that he offers a veteran presence who could still put you in on a run of a sub-3 ERA for a while.
Well, he's going to get some starts skipped. He's going to wind up with an injury, even if it's not an injury. They're going to be super careful with.
It'll be his back.
Yeah. They'll be careful with Buehler. Right. They'll be careful. I think Bauer is the one guy that they'll let rip. He's there. He's on a short contract. He's been durable. Other than that, they're going to get creative with the staff. They're going to use that IL. They're going to abuse it. It's almost criminal, that IL.
Let's finish up with you, Henry, because you had very strong words about the Padres. So
I love the Padres.
Let's get your thoughts on the Dodgers now.
I think the Dodgers are everything you guys say they are. I think they are the best team at acquiring depth. They have a ridiculous amount of depth. You can plug and play guys left and right. This team on paper is a juggernaut. They should win. The Padres are just right on that ass. I also think there's something to be said about the World Series hangover. They were so close the previous 2 years. So close. They're right there. They had it snatched from them, and then they finally got over the hump in an exciting fashion too. There's that shit, that lingers. Then you have the question of, can the Dodgers do it for a full season? We all said whoever won the World Series won the World Series, but the Dodgers did it in a short season. You still have to prove it over the long haul, and they do have the depth for that. With that said, they did lose a guy like Kike Hernandez, who is, even though he's not an all-star, that guy is like the glue to a team. He's that guy that everyone loves. He brings everyone together. He's another guy, a super utility guy. One addition I did love on this team is Tommy Kahnle.
Yeah.
I don't see Kenley Jansen finishing the season on the Dodgers, and Tommy Kahnle will be the closer for the Dodgers.
I think it'll be Kahnle or Gratterall. One of those two will close.
It's only a matter of time because they're going to make Urias a closer. He's going to be the closer. Eventually, he's going to be the closer, I think.
See that?
I just think they take a slight step back, and it's not one thing. I just think it's a lot of little things here and there. They're just not playing right. It's going to be that World Series hangover. I will say, I do think, and I said this on Total Bases yesterday with Felipe, or as we call it, the Total Dongs. I do think David Price is going to be their best pitcher because he has no expectations coming into the season. He has an entire season off. He's got that content. You forget David Price is on this team.
Yeah.
You have everyone else. David Price has no expectations, and we know when the bright lights are on, David Price shrinks. So now he's not the guy there. He's not even the top 3 guys there. So I think with that, statistically, he ends up being their best pitcher.
I think that stretch, be surprised if he wins, 12, 13 games with a good peripherals.
I love the Dodgers on paper. I just think something about San Diego. I have San Diego just eclipsing them, and the Dodgers are going to be right there. Make no mistake about it. But I just don't think they're going to be that juggernaut that we just kind of assumed. That World Series hangover is real.
I would have thought that until they got Bauer. Adding Bauer to this team is just
that's the other thing. Look, the Padres pushed them to the point where they had to get Bauer.
Yes.
The Padres don't make those moves. Bauer's not a Dodger. He's probably a Met.
Now, if you remember last year on Donk City, I said the Dodgers should get Bauer. And
you absolutely did.
You called me greedy, and I agreed with you. I agreed.
That doesn't mean I'm wrong. You still might be greedy.
Baseball, greed is good.
Say it again.
Greed is good.
Greed is good in baseball. Absolutely. But yeah, like I said, I have the World Series hangover thing, and I think that there's a lot of things. Not to mention, Mookie Betts had a phenomenal last season. So what does that mean? That means he's due for his down year. Mookie Betts is the every other year All-Star. So
I don't know.
Mookie Betts is due for his down year.
We'll see about that. I wouldn't bet on that.
You bring up some points that intrigue me because I'm all about those sorts of trends, right? Especially the Betts every other year thing. and the World Series hangover thing legitimate. I actually feel the opposite, though. I think the short season helps the Dodgers. They're not going to be hungover because they didn't have a full season. Usually you get the World Series hangover because a guy like Alex Cora will use, for example, in 2018, will run his pitchers into the ground to win the World Series through October. Next season, they're all hurt. You don't achieve as much. You have a shitty season. Dodgers don't have to worry about that more than any other team because no one reached their inning limit. So to me, the World Series hangover part is completely out, but it's still really hard to win a World Series back-to-back years. Like in general, that's a very difficult thing to do. I like the Dodgers in a full season. I like them last year if it was a full season. They've proven they can win 100+ games, so this isn't like it's not like a Tatis as a team thing where he has to prove he can do it in a full season. So that doesn't scare me about the Dodgers. Obviously, we'll make a World Series prediction in a few weeks.
I just saw. I totally forgot. Caleb Ferguson had Tommy John. I forgot that.
Yeah, Caleb Ferguson is.
I forgot he had Tommy John.
Yeah, he was a good arm too. I mean,
Yeah,
that was
very
another
good.
guy that's pretty good. But
yeah, I'm with you. I think they trade Ruiz. I think they make a few trades to get rid of some of that depth and pad some other spots. But they have, before they had to prove they can win it. Now they're gonna have to prove that they can really win it.
Yeah, defend it.
I think the short season helps because they still have a chip on their shoulder because every hater on the planet said, "Oh, that's not a real World Series." Blah blah blah.
I mean, look, we said if a big market team won, that was what we expected that.
Yeah.
It's also, look, I mean, no one's won back-to-back titles, obviously, since the Yankees. This entire century, no one has won a back-to-back title. But if you were to take any collection of talent in the last 20 years and try and talk me into winning back-to-back titles, it is this current Dodgers team.
Yeah.
So, it's the same thing last year. Everyone was like, well, the Dodgers never finished the job. They're not going to win the World Series. And my defense last year was, that's true until it's not. Like, there's no reason the Dodgers won't win the World Series except that they haven't previously. So there's no reason the Dodgers won't win back-to-back titles except it hasn't happened recently.
Yeah.
So it's not a good reason for me. But the fact that the Padres are in their division, like if you needed to write up a conspiracy theory as to how they're not going to, well, they may be a wild card team, and then it's a lot harder. So I can see it from both ways. I think they're both perfectly sound arguments. We will wrap it up here.
I kind of wish that one of these guys were in the AL, one was in the N.
I know, right? Yeah,
or
absolutely.
Another division. You put the Padres in the NL Central, and it would be much better.
For you put them in the NL Central, they're winning 162 games.
Yeah, they'll go 130. Sean, since we're not going to have you for the preview show as far as our World Series predictions, what is your World Series prediction?
I'm going to take a very unsexy pick. I'm going to take the Dodgers over the White Sox.
Okay.
Now, I was thinking my other choice would be the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
It's between the Yankees and the White Sox, but I feel like with the White Sox, what they've done, I think they're going to have one of those magical years where everything just falls into place. I think Giolito's going to be a Cy Young guy. So I'm going to take the Dodgers over the White Sox.
Fair enough. You got that, Rob?
Got it.
Rob, we haven't gotten to you. Just give us your division winner, because I know you're a big Padres guy.
Yeah, I'm definitely want to see the Padres win it this year. I mean, they're just a very sexy pick this year. I just really, really enjoy this team. I mean, Fernando Tatis Jr. is basically the player of baseball right now. He is the. I mean, it's obviously it's still Mike Trout and everything like that, but he's an up and coming. And right now, I mean, he's it. I mean, he's everybody's watching what he's doing. I mean, every time he comes to the plate, it's like they want to see what's going to happen with it. So my pick for the AL West will be the Padres, and the AL West. I see the A's winning it on that one. I just picked the A's because I just hate the Astros to this day. just I hate. I don't want to be like but I just think that the A's are just a better team.
Yeah, no one's faulting you for hating the Astros. Perfect.
Yeah.
I just want to touch on Sean's comment before about the White Sox being the team in the AL. You know why that won't happen? The Cleveland Indians will hire Donald Trump, and Donald Trump will have all the Cubans deported from Chicago.
There you go. That's the easy solution.
Boom.
To answer your
But
question,
he'll try to do that and he'll fail. So
to answer your question, Ricky, I don't personally mind lefty closers as long as there's another lefty reliever. I don't like my only lefty reliever being the closer, but like inherently is a lefty closer a problem? No. That's all I've got. So anyway, so you're muted, Henry.
Sorry, I said going back real quick. I just do love that Tommy Kahnle pickup. That's one of the best pickups all off season.
And then next year, Knebel's going to look like a good pickup when he's healthy. I mean, that's one of those Friedman moves that is just bound to pay off. I feel
Absolutely.
I like him too. I like all of the veterans that they grabbed. So let's make it official here to end the night. I have A's winning the West. I have Dodgers winning the West. We'll go around here. Shawn, you have the Dodgers winning the West. Do you want to make an AL West prediction? I know we didn't have you on for that segment.
I was going to say I'm not as down on the Astros as others. I'm still picking the A's, but I feel like the Astros
On the mute show.
I feel like they have a pretty scary lineup still. I think Altuve will bounce back. I think Tucker's a potential superstar. I think Alvarez will be there. I still think they'll challenge.
Okay. Rob's got the Padres and the A's. And Henry, do you also have the Padres and the A's?
I have the Padres and the A's.
Okay, so there you go. A little split here on Dong City. So nice to see. Shawn, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
In another marathon Dong City here. Next week, for those of you still watching, we'll remind you guys throughout the group. It is the Central Division, so shouldn't be any controversy there when I get talking about the Cubs.
And like we say, we got plenty of Cubs fans. I don't want to hear it. We have a lot of Central fans. If you want to be on the show, if you want to show your ass, if you want to make your prediction, you want to state your case, here's your platform.
The perfect way to counter everything I think about the Cubs is if you're a Cubs fan, feel free to join the show. We will have you on. You can plead your case. But next week, the division. So we'll have AL Central. We'll have NL Central. Tune in tomorrow to the Audible if you're a football fan.
They're off this week.
No Audible. Don't do that. Wednesday, though, you got Step Back. Wednesday evening, Leon and Jacob for some basketball. And then Thursday, of course, Work Shoot Wrestling Podcast. Corey and Jason, they do a very good job. The newest of our podcasts. So feel free to tune into that.
Nice.
Most importantly, next Monday, 7 p.m., we're right back here, Central Divisions, Dong City.
Bases.
Oh, and we've got Total Bases, of course. Sundays, they had Henry just most recently. Fantasy baseball is starting shortly. Your
draft season, baby. Draft season. If you want to know what to do, tune into those guys.
Yes. I'll be mock drafting like 15 times this weekend. It's the season. Mock draft in a couple of weeks, or my real draft in a couple of weeks. So definitely tune in Total Bases. Go on to fantasy advice. They do a great job there. Next Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern time, Dong City. We will look to talk to you then. Central participants, feel free to reach out to me, Henry, or Rob if you want to be on the show, just like Shawn was. Thank you again to Shawn. Everyone, have a great night.
You guys next week, Dong City, bitches.
Take care, guys. Peace out.
Later.